live. And I'm just
Is there a link that we can post in here? I think
yeah,
my
I'm
mum
just going to
wants
give it to you
that.
right now, everyone. Hello, everyone.
Hello, mum.
Hi, Mum. Share. Okay, here you go. Um, live. We're live. Oops. Pew. Got any people on? There's no one on yet. It doesn't look like, so it makes it easy. Where's our messages? Oh, there we go, chat. Here we go. Pow. Share. Cool. Okay, no one's on yet. Here we go. 7:30, time to start. Okay, hi everyone. This is the Music Production Guild Masterclass YouTube Live series, and this one's on making beats and songs for the international market. So we've got a selection of guests here tonight. We've got Ash Harris, Leah McAllister, also known as LMC, Michael Lee, Mueslibeats, Flynn Cranston, and Ray, who goes by the name of Ray. So
that's facts.
Yeah. And we've got a number of sponsors that have helped us out tonight for some giveaways. We've got United Plugins, who are giving us a couple of FireMaster plugins to give away. So thanks to them. And Rode have given us a swag bag that we can send to some lucky person for watching this. We're going to draw these things at the end. And extra little news, next week we've got the drum production one, and we're giving away these Shure Ionic 40 headphones worth about $500, and some other plugins from Melda Plugins. So make sure you join in for that one. And yeah, that's next Thursday night. Cool. So let's get started. Oh, nice. Oh, we got 8 people online. Starting off well. Here we go. Okay, so I'm just going to get you guys to do a brief introduction about yourself. Ash, you helped us out a lot on getting this thing together, so I'm going to ask you to go first, if that's okay, because you like having a chat. So can you tell us about yourself,
pleasure.
what you've done, what you like to do, who you work with, and anything else you think's interesting, and then we'll jump on to someone else. Just a quick little...
Yeah, sure thing. So I studied computer science and stats initially at uni, fell out of love with it, was writing songs on the side, just to YouTube type beats. So I started as an artist, just releasing music to YouTube type beats. Went to SAE in 2022 and fell in love with engineering and producing there. So I started producing for other artists and writing with other artists, and kind of naturally fell into management because of the business learnings and I guess strategy learnings I had from computer science and stats, and just naturally being a bit of a problem solver and critical thinker, and started working with Dan Woolston at Higher Ground, helping out with Nine Lives and Mellowdowns, and still going hard at the production, working with New Zealand artists and starting to branch out overseas now.
Nice.
Should I pass along to Ray?
Yeah, do it.
Here I am talking about myself. Kia ora, I'm Ray. Yeah, I've been a self-produced artist for ages. Been releasing music pretty seriously for like 13 years now. And I also produce for other artists over my journey, including a bunch of local Aotearoa artists like Maizirika, Maimoa, Huia. And yeah, in the last couple of years, I've been focusing a bit more internationally. I've been doing a bunch of overseas missions with my travel bestie and Huia, and yeah, I've been working on a bunch of Australian collabs and Canadian mostly. Yeah, and yeah, still having fun with it.
And you're up for a Maioha?
And I'm up for a Maioha award for my collab with Ia, which is a Te Reo song that we wrote last year. And it's up for a Maioha award, which is like the Reo Māori part of the Silver Scrolls. So if you're an APRA member, please vote for our song and maybe we can win it. Yeah. It's one of the, well, with Māori music, sometimes it can all be a little bit slow and stuff like that. So our one is one of the less chill ones. So if you want to check it out and vote for it, then that'll be choice.
What's the title of the track to vote for it?
He piko he tuna,
And that means
which means it's a play on a whakatauki from Waikato, which means usually you'd say at every bend there's a chief. He piko he taniwha. Every bend there's a chief, or there is a taniwha. It's a metaphor for chief. So in this one we're saying he piko he tuna, and it's a bit of a love song. Tuna is Māori for eel, and we sing about eels in this song and their journey to Tonga, and all of that stuff. And yeah, you can listen to this song.
nice. Okay, who do you want to tag in next, Ray?
I tag Flynn. Tag.
Right. Hey, I'm Flynn Cranston. 20-year-old producer, songwriter, guitarist, all of the above. Yeah, I've been doing it for quite a while, since I was 12, 13, I guess. I started getting into music in the industry. Yeah, started selling type beats on Instagram, all sorts of that stuff, and then started making loops and working with other people, and then turned it into songs. I'd say the main people I've worked with is Rodway, Polo G, G-Eazy, and really just American rappers. Yeah, a lot of international work, some local work as well. Work with some close artists, OD in New Zealand, Kid Ray, and yeah, just focusing a lot on more the hip hop side, but also bridging into pop and R&B, just as many lanes as possible, really. So yeah.
Cool. Who's next, Flynn?
I'll go Muesli.
Hey, I'm Muesli. I've been producing for about 8 to 10 years now. Worked with mostly just local artists to start off with when I was in uni. Worked with some artists like Abdul K, Jess B, and a lot more. Also have done some international songs as well. Worked with artists like Scory, No Cap, and even some sync placements like with Will Smith and all of them as well. But yeah, hopefully get some more in the future as well. Passing on to you, RMC.
Nice. Yeah, my name's Liam. I go by the producer name LMC. I've been making music what feels like forever now. I started making hip hop when I was like 14. I got an MPC. Made beats on that for like a year. Switched to FL Studio and kind of never looked back. I moved out to Auckland when I was 18. I went to Mains, studied audio engineering for a year. I entered the second year and I found it really hard. So I actually just dropped out and decided to just like work part-time and pursue music. I worked part-time for probably like 5 to 6 years, mostly at Peter Pit, just trying to pay the rent and then make music, you know. I was doing that for a while. And then I had a big producer from America just like randomly reach out to me through SoundCloud. I kind of thought it was fake at the time because like he was like one of my idols, I guess. He was like, yo, I like your music, send me some of your work. So I sent him like 5 beats. I thought like nothing of it because I thought it was a scam. Because it was through email, like he reached out to me through SoundCloud and then through email. And then anyway, I was like scrolling Instagram one day and I followed this rapper called Rich the Kid. And anyway, he like previewed a new song and I heard my tag on the song and I was like, yo, what? Like this is crazy. It ended up being my beat that was passed on through the producer. Anyway, that was like my first big song. It ended up being on his debut album called The World Is Yours, which also had like some massive songs on there, like Plug War with Kendrick and like what's the other one? New Freezer with Kendrick Lamar. And so that album actually went platinum. And so that was like my first like platinum record that kind of like put me in the industry. And yeah, it was I kind of felt like a one-hit wonder for so long because that's the only big song I got. It took me about 4 more years to get another song. That ended up being with Nato Wick. And then that album actually went platinum as well. And so that kind of like put me in the industry, I guess. And so ever since then, I just been working music full time. I actually now have 3 platinum records and a gold. And just working every day, trying to get more. I'm trying to get fit now too. And yeah, I also work for, also I forgot to mention, also probably work for like a lot of New Zealand artists, from like Mellowdowns to producers like Hasbeats and anyone in between, I guess. So yeah, shout out New Zealand as well.
Cool. So I mean, that's the thing, I suppose, with developing and starting off, you're often working with a lot of local artists and, finding and developing your sound, and then, trying to get the international thing happening at the same time. Do you see much difference between what you're doing in the build-up for local compared to overseas, and also what they're wanting, especially, say, Liam, with, what they're after, or how you're targeting that?
I feel like it's like the gap is becoming smaller. There's a lot of like local artists now that are like making it in America, and like getting a lot of American and international followers too. So that's really cool. And I feel like New Zealand, we also really have our own sound as well, especially in hip hop, which is really cool. So we can stay true to that sound, but also branch out overseas and be heard overseas, which is really cool. So it's great seeing other producers as well, and artists and stuff like that getting recognized overseas. And so I guess it starts with like working with local artists, That's how I learned how to do it.
And that sort of helps create, the unique sound we get from Aotearoa. That, I suppose, especially with hip hop, they're always, it's like dance music. They're often looking for a new take on a sound and something that's going to give them that edge. So, we are probably at a bit of an advantage, even, with being further away, that we can actually offer something like that. What are your thoughts on that, Ash, as someone who, works with like Nine Lives and who travels overseas quite a bit, or works with people regarding the, our local sort of dialect of sound or way we approach it compared to overseas?
Yeah, I agree with what you just said. I think someone that instantly comes to mind is someone like a Brandon Shiraz, and a producer that he works with a lot, Light Skin John. They kind of like, reggae is huge in New Zealand, and they've kind of found a sound that is like, amongst other sounds they've been exploring, it's like taking reggae and then modernizing it. Same with like a Victor J. Cepho, where they're bringing this trap and like very modernized edge to a very traditional sound that's been loved in New Zealand, and it's reaching international borders. So I think that that's really cool. And then there's people like, Nine Lives, Latoa, Bubblegum, Sempra, who are finding interesting pockets of the internet, and they're kind of fueling that. I think the opportunities are more than ever now with like the post-COVID world, where you can hop in Discord servers, or you can post TikToks and break through to audiences all around the world. And it's just about finding that community that you want to build within, that you can kind of collab with artists within that community, or feed fans within that community and grow within that.
Cool. Yeah. We'll definitely want to talk about some of the Discord stuff soon. What about Ray, with your stuff going over to Turtle Island, Canada, and taking over, your sort of electro haka sound and their perspective of Te Ao Māori, and how that sort of integrates, or how you're finding that is really useful for you to develop into Canada?
Yeah, I guess, yeah, speaking of like finding your own pocket and your own community internationally, I've kind of been slowly developing that, and we have found a bunch of interest with the Indigenous communities in Canada, traveling there a couple of times and going to the International Indigenous Music Summit for the last 3 years. And yeah, they just, when you tell them, they like love it, and they love every like part of, they love to hear about Māori culture, and they love to hear about Māori language and music, and us incorporating our culture. And it just becomes a real selling point when you're doing music over there. So through that, like I've just found it super easy to work with other artists in the Indigenous communities over in Canada, and they're like I was in Vancouver for a week in May and just organized my own like writing camp week, and I was just doing sessions every day um, with my friends that had met through the summit and friends of friends, and just everyone was just super keen to hang and super keen to make music, which was like quite a stark contrast to being in Aotearoa when like everyone's like, oh yeah, sweet, yeah, let's jam, and then oh sorry, I just got to cancel this day. Can we do it next week? And then you follow up, oh, is next week okay? Or they just don't reply to you. So like going from that to being in Canada, where I start to feel like I found a community to work with. It is exciting and it's quite refreshing. Yeah, for me going over there and having those trips has really helped solidify those relationships, and then you just got to do your best to keep those relationships up when you're back home.
Cool. What about you, Flynn? How do you see, sort of the local feel of sound can be really beneficial, or your approach on it really helped you get international? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think adding on to what Ash said, like nowadays it's such a global world. You can find anyone from America or Europe and connect with them, make music with them. And what used to be a really local thing, and you'll do a jam session with a band or you'll work together in the studio, you can do pretty much that same thing with anyone across the globe. And it just like opens a lot of doors on what you want to make. Because there's a small amount of producers in New Zealand at the moment, definitely growing. But if you open the whole world up, there's hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions out there that are trying to work on similar stuff to you. And if you all have your own niches, you'll find other people in that small pocket niches that you can work with. And just, yeah, exactly. Like Ray was saying, you can find groups that you need to work with, and those can be your main collaborators.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because you guys are sort of leading this charge of the modern producer approach from Aotearoa to international. But as I talked to you on the phone, Flynn, there's just so many more people that could be doing this all concurrently because it's such a big international market. Do you have any? How many people do you reckon? We could support so many producers doing beats or songs just from here.
Yeah, I get quite a few messages from people. I'm quite young, but people even younger, like in school, 14, 15, 16, who are all getting into producing, and they're just asking for tips on, how to push their music out internationally and how to access that. And it's become super easy because if you are 14, 15, 16, you have a window now where you can actually do that. You can message anyone in the world, you can email them, and it's not like they're going to turn you down because you're 14. If the music's good, the music's good, and then they'll pick up on that.
Yeah.
So it's really a global world. Anyone's able to do it now if they want to.
Yeah, cool. Muesli, what are you have any extra thoughts on this? And also, what ways do you use to contact people internationally so you can start making those connections with what you've been doing?
Yeah, I agree with what everyone said so far. It's a lot easier, especially connecting through like Instagram. You can just find whoever's on like Genius to see the credits and then just message them directly. Um, there's a lot of people out there that have produced big songs that have only got like 500 followers sometimes, or even just less than 500, which is kind of crazy to think about, especially when some of them are platinum as well. So yeah, like if you've got a good sound, if you've got especially a more niche and unique sound that say is a market that hasn't been tapped into crazy just yet, those you will blow up quite easily, especially if you're putting content out there as well. The way I reach out to people is I just tend to find mutuals who have produced on bigger songs, or find like engineers or A&Rs that have been credited on the songs that I listen to, and then I just approach them through Instagram that way.
Nice. Cool. Ash, you got some thoughts on this as well for ways to connect in with international artists, or producers or labels or anything like that?
Yeah, I often find in these situations, like it's really helpful to have specific examples. And one that comes to mind recently was this producer, Jake Jepson from Australia. I don't know if he grew up in New Zealand, but I know he's connected to a lot of my producer friends in New Zealand. Him and this other producer he works with out of Australia, they were posting TikToks. They weren't getting crazy views, but Russ found one of their TikToks, and Russ was like, wow, this is a super unique sound, kind of like what Muesli was saying. Like, I think it has to be great and unique and stand out. But Russ found that and was like, yo, I want to work with you guys. And he basically worked with those two producers from Australia on his whole album. And they've got like, it's like 9 or 10 placements with Russ, all on this most recent album. And that's pretty exceptional, in my opinion. Like, that you can post a TikTok, even if it's only getting 1,000 views. If one of those 1,000 people is someone who's influential in music or someone that you're trying to build in with, then that's a win. So I feel like with reaching people, yeah, it's kind of like an online game if you're trying to reach internationally, and it would be like Discord. I've heard a lot of Discord servers, like I think Internet Money have all transitioned over to Telegram. I think LMC and Muesli and Flynn would probably be better to talk about the loop game than I, but I think like TikTok is essential, Instagram Reels, and even like tagging people in stories, tagging people in Reels. A friend of mine, Dice, was telling me like he'll post a reel with a beat that he's made that kind of fits a certain artist, and he'll tag the artist in the reel. Sometimes that'll go straight to their DMs and the artist will open it, or their producer might open it and like the reel or reply to you and be like, yo, this is dope, send me more beats. And then that kind of establishes a new path of communication. So I think you kind of just have to throw a bunch of darts, and it might be hundreds of reps, especially if you're throwing massive darts to like huge producers. That's probably going to be harder to land one. But if you're throwing lateral moves to people with similar followings and similar credits to you, you're probably more likely to land them, and then nurturing the ones that actually land.
Yep. Yeah, Michael, you talked about that when we had our chat before as well, that building those long-term relationships. And yeah, because most of your work often comes from a small selection of the total set of people you do. Do you want to chat about some of your strategies on that, or what you could recommend to people?
Yeah, so when I first reached out to people, I was reaching out mostly to other New Zealand producers that have had like bigger placements. I remember reaching out to like LMC quite early on as well. Yeah, and they just helped me a lot in terms of like sending them loops, and then they would use my loops and then get placements, and then eventually once I built a little bit more of a catalog, other people who also want to work tend to take you more seriously as well. I know some people, they, even if they don't have much credits, they'll put up some content where they have like a nice sound, and then they'll DM like 20, 30 other producers a day. And then out of those 20 or 30, maybe 20% or 30% will reply to them, or even just check out their content to see if that their sound suits them or not. In terms of building a long-term relationship, it's just simply just how you kind of do it in business or as like a colleague as well. Just always reaching out to them, talking to them about like random stuff. I come from like an IT background as well, and like there's a lot of people always asking about IT issues, so I like tend to help them out with that, and then yeah, they offer me opportunities after I've helped them through like helping them fix plugins or storage issues, all that sort of stuff as well.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I feel like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
and
encourage you. I feel like that's a really good one when people offer like another service and then like
yeah.
ultimately, you know.
Yeah, I've seen other people offer like who are good at Photoshop. They offer video editing and like Photoshop services to make cover art for the sample packs. Some people offer like website design. So there's plenty of other skills that you have that you can use to benefit the network and the connections. Don't shy away from any sort of stuff that you've, say for example, done in uni or worked as a part-time job. Like I remember when I first met LMC, I gave him a discount when I was at retail.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. So like all these things can build up your connection and then make a lasting impression on people as well.
Nice. You got any thoughts on this, Flynn? Or we've run through enough on that?
I think I've got
Yeah,
a thing after Flynn or whatever.
Yep.
You can go.
I'm good on this one.
Cool. You're going to say, Liam?
I think kind of like like building off what Muesli was saying too, like for me it's like ultimately being the goal. I message people every day, like don't get me wrong, like I message probably like 3 people a day, I'd reach out, but ultimately the goal for me as like a producer and like a business is to have everyone come to me instead of the other way around. And so like what really like helped me in my career was like a lot like Flynn was saying, you know, like if the music's good, like people are going to come to you. And so it's amazing now how like 14 and 15-year-olds can like get online and get their beats out there. But also it's very hard because since I've been online like producing, it's so saturated. There's so many producers out there. And I think the goal with like the reels and the TikToks as well is to like really stand out and have a sound. And so my whole like producing career, I was always thinking of like, how am I going to have people come to me? Like, what's going to be my sound? And so that happened like with the vocal samples. And so me and India were like, that's going to stand out because when we first did the vocal samples, maybe like 4 years ago, like no one was really recording them and doing them in hip hop. And so that was kind of our break. And so instead of me messaging like 30 people a day, I probably had like 30 people messaging me because we had a product and a brand that people wanted. And so we had lots of people coming to us. And I think that's also something really to think about if you're like a younger producer or someone just trying to get their name in the industry, just like standing out, being a little bit different, whether that's being on reels and on TikToks, just like, you know, getting your name out there and having people come to you as well. Because I feel like that's the goal at the end of the day. If you're like producing online and you're trying to get your work out there, ultimately you want like people coming to you for things.
Cool. Yeah. And I suppose, Liam, you've got the your Discord server that, you know, people come to you with that, and you've also managed to help a whole bunch of people
100%.
with their careers.
Like,
So do you want to give us a rundown on that and also let people know so they can check it out? Whatever.
well, like all of my biggest songs, apart from the first Rich the Kid song, have come from other producers like placing my loops and placing the vocal samples. And a lot of the time the producer is very new and they've gotten the vocal sample from my Discord server and it's actually been their first major placement too. And so that's really helped me in my career because I cast the net wide and I didn't like I'll send like samples to people with like 4 followers. Like I'll just send them to everyone because that person with like 4 followers one day could be like a multi-platinum producer, you know? We all started off with 4 followers and like not being able to make beats. And so like I think like the more people you can help and your sound can reach, no matter like at what stage of the career, the better. And so that's kind of why I set up my Discord server. It was to help people. And I know when I first started out making music, it was really hard. Like, it was really hard to network and like meet local producers because, you know, the internet wasn't as big, you know, like 10 years ago. And so I remember P Money actually like really helped me back then. And I didn't have any big songs to my name or anything. And when he helped me, I was like, man, like he didn't have to help me. He really like nurtured my career. And I was like, well, how can I do this for other people? And so I started the Discord. And so I guess in a way, like I like to nurture other people's careers, no matter how big or small they are, because, you know, like eventually I ended up being a multi-platinum producer because, you know, he had a big influence on me. And so, yeah, I think like, yeah, it really does. It does help on the Discord side of things too. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing with, you know, the fact that, you know, you're looking to go global is there's just so much space for everyone around Aotearoa. You know, the more everyone helps each other, the better everyone generally will do because, you know, you're just working it out into that international market base. So, yeah, it's just a good approach. And we'll jump on to expand on this with our connecting and collaborating part. So, Ray, do you want to talk anything more about how you've been, you know, connecting and collaborating with your the people in Canada, for example, and, you know, how you're just keeping those relationships solid, you know?
I sure
Yeah,
can.
yeah, just by being, because a lot of people are also doing beats, sending them over the internet, but also if someone that travels over there to really work in the different countries. I mean, I'll get Ash to talk about something as well. But and Flynn, you've been over recently, haven't you? You got
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
cool. Do you want to give us a little run through on some of your thoughts on that array first?
Yeah. So I guess for my stuff, I don't know. I haven't really been able to like find time in my life to be spent sending like 30 messages a day to different artists and stuff. Like I really respect that hustle, but I like don't have the headspace for that. So my approach has been quite a lot more selective. And like we talked about before, finding that community online that actually wants to work with you. And for me, that has been over the last couple of years, working in with the Indigenous music community in Canada. And they have this cool ass thing called electric powwow, which is like a whole genre of music, electronic dance music, where they sample their traditional like choir singing and stuff like that, called like powwow music. And so I just thought, cool, what can I offer these guys that they don't have, that they might be interested in using in their music? I was like, cool, I can do some I can do some haka vocals and send them that and see if they're keen to work on some collabs like that. So I just started writing some haka and sending them out to a few select artists, producers that I really like, and yeah, started getting some actual replies from people and people actually being keen, and I've got a couple of collabs in the works from that. So yeah, I guess being the selective, and then just also figuring out what I can offer that no one else can offer, because no one else from Aotearoa is messaging these guys offering the same kind of stuff. And yeah, I just think I've been quite inspired with my music from their music as well. They're mixing traditional with electronic and dancey stuff. So for me to be able to give a little bit of that and incorporate into that scene, and then also be inspired by their music to work on my own stuff, I think that's been pretty cool. And what was the second part of that, Chris? You wanted me to talk about?
I can't remember.
Actually,
I don't listen to myself.
Yeah.
Do you want to jump in maybe then, Flynn? Tag in.
Yeah, well, I've been doing it online for a long time, since really COVID times, even a little bit before that. But I feel COVID really helped my music take off, because that's when I had a good chunk of time well, everyone had that time off at home, and I had that time to build somewhat of a business, just online making beats. And what would I do? I would message hundreds of people every night. I'll go onto hashtags, like these random rappers with 50 followers from America, real street guys, just message them, pretty much door-to-door sales, really. I was like, hey, I have these beats on my page. Would you want to buy any of these? Most of the time didn't work out. And then one or two people out of every 100 might be interested, and then they would hop onto it and they would think, yeah, I might want to buy this. So it was definitely a hustle doing that online. But when things started taking off, there was a bit more interest with other producers and managers over in America. I got signed to a publishing company from LA pretty soon after my Big Break song. And after that, I always had connections over in LA, but it really took like 2 to 3 years before I actually took that trip out. Because I got signed when I was 15, but it was a long time before I could actually travel. And I left it till I was about 17, 18. And by then I'd built so much online where I was already like, when I got into these studio sessions in person, I already knew a lot of these people. So it was interesting going over there and being in the studios and everything, but that's not to say that you can't do everything from where you are right now. It's not like a limiting factor being at home, being in New Zealand, because it's so global now. You can just do everything from your room. but it's definitely a cool experience if you're able to show face. It's an expensive trip, especially for New Zealanders, because you've got to get that crazy flight over to North America, or if it's Europe, wherever it is. But it's worth it to do 1 or 2 times if you can, but there's no requirements to go over there.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And MPG have some resources if you are want to jumping overseas on our website to help out. Just point you in the right direction, or if you need visas and things like that. And I mean, especially the States is really tricky for all that side. Ash, do you want to jump in on that thing about, the importance of, doing jumps overseas, or how you sort of interact and integrate into that side of things, and then expand it into like when you get over there working with the artists, managers, and producer reps?
100%. Off the back of what Flynn said, I know producers who live in Bali and they don't do sessions. They just hit up 50 people a day on Instagram, convert those into calls, and then off the calls, they'll play a bunch of beats for an artist and then they'll sell them the beat on the call. So it's like that's a bit of a sales funnel and it's an option. But I think ideally, you know what you enjoy doing and how you want to kind of play the game. And for me, I like to produce in the room with artists. I also love making beats just with other producers or solo, but I love getting in person. And so I think one thing I wanted to touch on is how important one connection can be. So when I went over to Vancouver, fortunately, it was like 2 months after Ray just went to Vancouver. So I hit up Ray, I hit up one of my other friends who lives in Vancouver. And from those two people, I did I got connected with so many artists, like 10 plus artists. And then because I had that mutual friend put me in touch, they were way more keen to do a session. Same thing in LA. If you have mutuals there, like even if it's one person, they can put you in touch with other people. And really, this whole music game, I feel like is a big friend group, or it's like a big spider web of connections of mates. And ideally, if you're mates with someone and they have a bunch of other mates that make music, and if they rate you as a valuable producer with a unique sound, then they're probably keen to put you in touch with their mates. And if you go to a city, it really cements that, because if you think of someone that's like cold DMing you on Instagram, that you might not even see their face in their profile picture, it's very like impersonal. Whereas if you've met them for coffee, you've met them in person, you're probably more likely to want to keep chatting to them and keep working with them on their music. And I guess last point on that, with Nine Lives, incredible producer, really disruptive sound. We send out a lot of packs, but the most demos get made when Nine Lives is on the ground in LA or in New York or in London. That's when he's really connecting with artists, and crazy things will happen. Like he might be in a session with a big artist and they'll be like, oh, all good if some of my friends pull up, and all of their friends are massive artists with 1 million plus monthlies. And then you make 5 demos that night with all those artists. Like the spider web is way more strongly and densely packed in cities like LA or in cities like London. So I think it's crucial to head overseas if you can and look into Outward Sound. I would recommend that. It's a way to get partial funding for your overseas trips. So definitely, if it's not on the MPG website, Google Outward Sound and you can apply for funding for your trips.
Nice.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Ash is saying. Even if because the music producer game is kind of like a community where you have a lot of friends, even if the friends that you make don't have crazy big placements, and say, for example, you are out in Vancouver and LA, New York, etc., definitely still try to make the connection with them to meet them in person, because you never know when they will blow up or they can help you down the line as well. Like when I was in New York, I was just there to travel and I met up with a few friends that I've been making music with for years. Some of them, like I don't even make music with them, I was just chatting with them every day, but they're both music producers that have like a unique sound as well. And one of them ended up actually producing like 2 or 3 of Eminem singles 2 years down the line. And he's younger than me as well. And because I got to see him in person, we've been working very closely ever since that as well. Um, yeah, so establishing those connections just by even just hanging out with them rather than being locked in the studio is also a great thing to do as well. And then they'll also add you to other producer group chats where you can just talk about random stuff and then solidify more connections that way as well.
I think just to touch on that too, if you can't get there in person, just hop on a call or like hop on Discord a lot of my mates are just in Discord calls every night where there's like 5 people in there making beats and they're all just chatting to one another. And I think that's a good way to build a stronger relationship with collaborators. Like I've been working with this artist in Hawaii, and I started by just sending them beats, and then now we hop on Discord calls, and I'll be cooking up and sharing my screen to them, and we're kind of chatting through the whole process as if we're in the room together. And it's way more personal now. We've gotten to know each other really well, which is, I guess, a lot more cost effective than flying out to Hawaii. So I think that's a good option as well.
Cool. And so, Ash, with all the stuff you're doing, how do you work with other, when you're looking after Nine Lives, or also with your own stuff? How do you work in with like artist managers and producer reps and all that? You got any pointers for that side of things?
I reckon again, it's that mutual connection, eh? Like, so a lot of like my connections have come from Dan. So Dan has been hustling out sniffers for 15 odd years and has built like a vast network from doing great covers with all these awesome artists and awesome teams. And he's built a management network. And I feel like it's always from a mutual connection. Like, let's say we're trying to get in touch with a certain artist, then we'll probably hit our label and see if they know someone who's an A&R at that label. And it's all just, it's this spiderweb like connected thing where, let's say we're trying to reach a certain artist or a promoter for a certain show or something. We'll look at our existing network and be like, okay, who in our label or who in our publishing team might already know someone there? Oh, great, our publisher actually publishes this artist's music too. So we can tap our publishing team to see who, or like to get them to put us in touch. Or if it's a manager friend of ours that happens to be friends with the manager of that artist, or friends of the manager of that artist. I feel like it always starts there. Like what's the kind of like 2 levels of connection to get to this person that we want to work with and collaborate with. But then again, it's also that content play of like putting stuff out into the universe on TikTok or on Instagram. You never know what could happen. Like if we're looking at Nine Lives' journey, he put out a beat tape on Spotify, and it kind of just went crazy on TikTok because the music was very disruptive. And then artists found that beat tape, and they found his beats on YouTube and started naturally just cutting records to the songs because they could YouTube to MP3 them off YouTube. So I feel like just having your stuff on all platforms accessible is important. Kind of what Liam was saying. Like, you never know what's going to happen, but you want it to be there so that people can come to you and find your stuff. So yeah, I guess put everything out there and brand it as best you can, such that it's appealing for people to find and pick up.
Yeah. And then make sure you can follow them up if they use it and get paid either on the master or the publishing once they do.
So that was a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't there for the early days of that, but like artists were just dropping Nine Lives songs willy-nilly with his beats without tagging him, without crediting him. Luckily, he had his tags like spread all over the tracks. So I guess if you're a producer, like having a tag is beneficial for that reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. You got any thoughts on any of this, Muesli, or building up and especially also your stuff to do with syncs?
Yeah, just you never know where like a song might land. Like I've had the song that I released with a bunch of artists quite a long time ago, back in the start of 2020, and it started out getting a few sync placements within local New Zealand stations, like Molly TV and some trailers and everything like that. And then one day, I signed some paperwork, and turns out I didn't realize I actually signed a pub deal. So make sure you have a lawyer to check your publishing deal as well, and check every single paperwork as well. That's definitely a big thing. But that song ended up getting placed in Bad Boys 4, so it's like Will Smith's latest movie. It got played twice in the movie as well. So when it gets played twice, it also gets paid twice too. So that's nice to also think about as well. So when you have these sort of even with like a smaller artist, they might go on and sign with like another label that focuses on sync or focuses on a different sector of the music industry that you may not have tapped into yourself. So definitely make sure that whatever artist you're working with, try as much as you can to get as many songs as you can with them, whether they're big or small, and yeah, just keep grinding.
Nice. Anyone else got any thoughts on that? Or should we jump on to some other things? No worries. Well, so we're running, we're going quite nicely through this. And maybe we can just talk a bit about contracts now as well when we're talking about, the syncs and some of these other things. Ash, you've got a reasonable amount of experience on this side these days. I mean, all you guys do, but you're going to be getting, when you're licensing beats, contracts coming in different ways, from, artists just by themselves, independent labels, all the way up to major labels, and, knowing how to actually deal with that, and how much to go for, and where you can take a bit of a step back. What are your thoughts on how do you guys deal with the contracts, Ash?
Yeah, I think exactly what Muesli was saying, it would be my first point. You want to have a network of trusted individuals you can consult before making any big decisions. So for us, we're fortunate that Nine Lives has a really good lawyer, and that lawyer has a team, and we lean on him and his team heavily. So we're pretty fortunate to have that. But I would say if you can't afford a lawyer, having mentors and people that have been there, done that, will be crucial to making the right decision when the contract comes through. So like maybe it's like someone that runs a studio that that has probably dealt with production contracts in the past, or a friend of yours you met at like a networking event that's a manager and they've probably dealt with business side of music. I think having that network of people that you trust and that don't have any they don't have any stake in that deal, so they're going to just give you like unbiased advice, is really valuable. And then secondly, I guess like a good way to look at it would be to opt for like the long term rather than the short term. So something could slide onto your emails or onto your desk, and it looks really appealing and it's a quick bag, but you might be like signing away your song or your discography in perpetuity, which means that whoever's buying it off you is going to own it forever. And obviously, if you consult your lawyer or you consult those people that you trust, they'll probably tell you that, which will be helpful. But we tend to lean towards opting for like long-term benefits. So let's say it's a song with another artist. We want to cook more with that artist and build a long-term relationship with them. So we're not going to be like, yo, like, what the fuck? Like, we need more money. It's more so a long-term build because you want to have sustainable relationships and build in with different teams and different communities, especially from New Zealand. I think it's really hard to just cut through to the US or cut through internationally to begin with. So I think you want to tread carefully and be really smart with how you build relationships with collaborators overseas. And people operate a little bit differently in the US. Like there's some sharks floating around, and you want to be really careful about that. Because in New Zealand, everyone's kind of a bit more chill and a bit more like, I don't want to say timid, but like everyone's really lovely and sweet. Whereas in the US, it's quite like cutthroat and like shark business vibes. So you want to be you want to have some people to lean on when shit gets real.
Cool. MPG, if you're a full member, can give you a bit of thoughts on any contracts. We do that semi-regularly for people because there's a lot of people doing beats just starting off, and they'll get an offer from a US label, and the budget's not enough for them a lot of the time to necessarily be able to afford a lawyer or the payout. So we can give a bit of advice on that or point them in the right direction to people. And the Music Commission also do some free legal advice. So I think MMF might do as well. There's things you might be able to get, but as I said, from the MPG, if you're a member, you can just ask us and we'll see what we can do to help.
I think Dominion Law offers like a 30 minutes free consultation as well. Like there's a few free options out there that you can explore.
Yep. Cool. Hey, Liam, what are your thoughts or experiences on contracts? And we've talked before about the master versus publishing, and do you want to give us a bit of a rundown on some of your experiences and your perspective on it all? Because you're doing quite a few licenses.
Yeah, definitely. I personally would never sign a contract without a lawyer. That's just like hands down my rule. Just because I know a lot of people that have learned the hard way. They're like, oh, I'm just going to sign this contract. It's just like a small artist, and their artist ends up being massive, or like signed to a major label. and the producer, really loses out. So yeah, I get a lot of contracts through. I'm actually a part of Beat Sales Publishing, so they're partnered with Sony. Anyone can sign up with them. And it's just a 20-80 split. You still keep your you, sorry, I forgot the word. I'm so tired. I need a coffee. You still keep all the rights to your music. Yeah, you still keep all the rights. But anyway, I'm signed with them, and they actually offer something now called CRA, and it's for producers that need like their contracts reviewed, and they have like an in-house lawyer that will actually review your contracts for 10% of the advance. So like if the advance is $100, they'll take $10. If the advance is 10,000, they'll take 1,000. So I found that like really good. That's only new though, but before that, I would still always make sure I had a lawyer review my contracts, just because I don't know, what I'm getting into.
Cool. Yeah, and I mean that's the thing. So you're going to get your your advance on the master and the publishing, and often you'll just get the master, and you won't really, the advance on that, and then the likelihood of seeing payment for a lot of tracks is pretty low. Yeah.
And honestly, like some of the time, say my advance is a small artist, so the advance is only $500, and if the lawyer fee ends up being $500, then I still think that's worth it, because most of the time you'll make that back on the publishing anyway, and if the song does like blow up and becomes #1, then you're covered, and you've got a nice contract in place. You're receiving your splits, and that big, like $500 advance, it seemed like big at the time. You may like miss out on that, but you'll end up earning more on the back end anyway, if that song blows up.
Yeah, and the publishing's generally, the one you want to hold on to and really look after. So.
Yeah, 100%. Like with a lot of the deals I'm doing now anyway, like the advance is like, it's nice to receive an advance, but if like the publishing percent is higher, like I'll 100% just go for a higher percentage on the publishing side in terms of that, because I can always earn the advance back anyway, if the song blows up. So yeah, I definitely think even if you're starting out and you're negotiating your splits, I always make sure the publishing is being negotiated first, and like I try to get a nice percent of the pub.
Yeah. And Flynn, what are your thoughts on this? Obviously you've got a publisher that's already helping, and they help you get placements, I imagine, but what are your thoughts on master versus publishing when you're going through the contractual side?
I think going back quickly to the contract point as well, it's really important to have some kind of authority in your voicing for it. Because if you're doing a big contract with multiple producers and multiple lawyers and stuff, if you are kind of just a lone wolf in that situation, then especially with America, I don't have much experience with New Zealand contracts, but with America, you can easily get shunned out or just straight up ignored. Like that has happened before. You can just get ignored by the lawyers, and since you don't have any authority figure there, like a lawyer or a manager, as some kind of professional advice there and professional person inside the email thread, and things can just get left out. And I've had that happen before. Even lawyers have tried chasing down American lawyers, and you just have to really be pushy with it. Like, don't be afraid to be pushy when a contract comes through. Like, if you don't get responses just every couple of days, say like, hey, how's this going? Where's the progress going in terms of the contract? Because otherwise, American lawyers will happily just let that slide. And it's a real problem. It's really scummy, but that's just how the music industry works nowadays.
Okay.
And if you're a small producer in the big picture, you got to really be on top of your game trying to get that sorted.
Okay.
But with publishing and with the masters in publishing, I would say publishing's important, and especially with indie songs, you want as much of that as possible. but I wouldn't like shy away from advances as well. I know a lot of people who make a living just straight off advances, especially if it's in the rap side of things, because there is a lot of artists who are on labels' payrolls, but they're kind of shelved to the back because they haven't been doing as well streaming wise. So you might not see that advance back from the song, especially if they're not doing too well, maybe a few years down in their career. So if you can take a good advance in that side of things, then I wouldn't turn it down. It just depends what you think the song is going to do, or if it does have a chance of blowing up, whether you bother with going too much into the publishing and give away some advance, or if the artist is in a position where you'd rather that advance straight up than worrying about the publishing points. So
Yeah.
I think, yeah, it just depends on who the artist is and what the song is that's getting put out.
Yeah, and on a lot of the smaller releases as well, the recoupables that are going to have to be ticked off before the advance even gets addressed. The likelihood of them ever recouping on the master side is pretty low. So it's really just going to be the publishing income that's going to come in from that. So,
Yep.
yeah.
One thing I would add on that just quickly is that I'm pretty sure radio is heavily publishing weighted, but streams are heavily master weighted. So if you got an artist that you're getting a placement with and they're going to get shit ton of streams but no radio play, maybe that's a better situation to lean towards the master. Whereas if they're all over New Zealand radio but they don't stream that crazy, maybe publishing is better. But there's also a lot of nuanced situations to that you probably want to just look into. And again, having someone like a lawyer or a manager or someone that knows the nitty gritty to help guide you will be useful.
Cool.
Also, a lot of the time it's very hard to make back that advance because if you're signing like a major label artist, you're getting max 5 points, so like 5% of that advance. So it's like you really had to take that into consideration when you're actually like negotiating the advance too, because like to recoup 5% back is going to takes so long. Like I've only recouped back a couple of songs, honestly. Like it takes so long. And so what I've found quite lucrative is just registering every song I get, no matter how small. And a lot of like my Italian songs like do really good on the publishing side. I have no idea why, but they don't stream very well on Spotify. So it really is just like the Wild West, like.
Cool. Do you find there's much of a difference dealing with contracts with the US compared to Europe, or is it pretty similar?
I have found actually the US to be slightly easier than Europe, just in my experience and a couple of my actual friends' experiences as well. Cool. But maybe that's just honestly because I'm used to dealing with US contracts and like US lawyers now. But a lot of I do a lot of Italian songs, and so they use like a lot of the vocal samples, and a lot of the time I actually just find them. They haven't even reached out. They haven't, cleared the sample or cleared the beat or whatever. So of course I'm going to say that it's been harder. Yeah, like this is like Sony Europe, Sony Italy, not clearing songs. So it is, yeah, everyone has their own experiences, but yeah, that's been very hard.
Right, cool. It's got a quick question from Ollie. He just would like us to answer. So whoever wants to jump on it can. Goes, would you guys recommend doubling down on a particular niche or just sending out everything regardless of sound style?
I'd do both. I'd send out everything that you do because you don't know what someone else might hear in the sound. And then also if you have a niche, like really double down on that and market that niche. And if you think that not many other people in the world are doing it, then like definitely try get that out there. I just know that in my own experience of using the vocal samples like that transformed my life really, because I found a niche. And so I think like honestly, if you can figure out both, how to do both, that's like the ideal scenario if you're a producer.
Yeah, I feel like to weigh in on that, like if you look at what's worked from producers getting massive international placements from New Zealand, it's often a niche thing that's made them stand out. So like with LMC in India, it's like super unique nursery rhyme-esque vocal samples. With Next Waves, he has a talk box and does like crazy vocal riffs
Yeah, those
with
are
his
great.
talk box, and got signed to Mustard and has crazy placements with massive like West Coast artists. And so I feel like finding something disruptive that's going to make you stand out in a Discord server where there's 100 people sending loops every day is pretty important. And I feel like if you could spend time carving out and experimenting and finding what that is, that's probably a good thing to do, as opposed to like looking at what's trending now and then just copying that, because there'll be most millions of people around the world making beats that sound like that too. So I like the niche.
Yeah, 100%. Be in that like in that server spamming like 100 times, but spam that niche 100 times if you
Yeah.
can.
Adding to
It's easier said than done though, I guess.
Adding to that as well, like if you are making your own niche, you're gonna enjoy making that way more than trying to follow every trend that happens. Because when you do that, it feels more like I'm just doing this automated thing that everyone else is. But if you have your own niche, it's your own creative process and it's kind of what you're passionate about. And then if that did end up taking off or other people found that sound, that's just a great feeling compared to doing the same thing that everyone else has been doing for many years.
Nice.
Yeah, I completely total call that, Flynn. Just like from my tunes, like finding my niche and finding my real stuff and finding and getting like just huge gratification and purpose with my musical career from that, rather than just trying to sound like everyone else. Like one of my mates was talking to my mates about my career. He's like, why didn't they just make a whole bunch of Good Moods? I was like, but that's not like Good Mood was it's been my breakthrough single and was like my biggest single to date. But like that would have just meant that I sounded like everyone else, and it's not really how the creative process works. So yeah, if you can find that niche that really drives you and that really sustains you creatively and hopefully monetarily, then you're onto something.
Nice. Cool. That's useful. And just yeah, if anyone else has got any other questions, drop them in the live chat. And reminding everyone that we'll be giving away a United Plugins Firestarter plugin and a Rhodes swag pack, but you've got to wait till the end so we can choose. So, you know, be vocal on the live chat.
Such great product names.
Yeah.
Firestarter.
Yeah.
Swag pack.
Sorry,
Did you
Firemaster.
make those names up, Chris?
No, I didn't. Yeah, but Firemaster, it's cool. Had a bit of a tutu with it, so nice.
Choice.
Yeah. Let's have a look. Here's a good one I like. It's another one that Liam brings up that's impressive. Weekly structures, being organized on your week, because Liam's a bit of a legend on that side. Do you want to give us a rundown of your week? Because it's, how you organize your life on that side of things.
Yeah, my week's like super organized. Like basically because it has to be now because I have a daughter. Got like a family, and so I got to fit in the time there. But even before that, I've always had structure, partly because I actually have OCD. Like not even just like saying this, like I actually do have OCD. So that's actually helped me in my career, I guess, be organized and consistent. And so I'll wake up at 5 a.m. every day before my daughter wakes up, partly because she's not up so I can work and it's like really quiet. I wake up at 5 a.m., have a coffee, and that's like where I get my best ideas out. And it also happens to be when like Americans are up working, and so it actually works out great. They're like kind of just getting to the office. It's like fresh. Everyone's networking, so it's really good for me to be up at 5 a.m. Not only for my mental health, but just for my work. And so, yeah, I'm up at 5 a.m. every Monday to Friday for about 2 hours. I work about 2 hours, then my daughter gets up. We do the whole family thing. And then I work probably about like another 4 hours throughout the day sporadically, and then I'm just like always on my phone sending music out, networking, obviously, doing all that. And so I've found the structure to just work well with me. And obviously it doesn't work well with everyone because most creatives actually like thrive on chaos and being able to like cook up on the fly like anywhere and stuff like that. And so I've just never been like that. And so it's just been really worked out that way. And yeah, it's been amazing because I wake up at 5 a.m. I'll message my Discord server. I'll send out like messages to all my like collaborators, reply to emails at that time as well. And so I'm just like consistently like talking with other people, I guess, and not having a day off really. My only day off is probably on Sunday, where I'm absolutely doing nothing, and I just make that a rule just because it gives me time to recharge. I can come back to work on Monday like really creative and like wanting to work again. So yeah, I just found it works really well for me. And a lot of other people that I've talked to that sometimes are inclined to be a bit more sporadic throughout their week, I've told them to like, be a bit more rigid with the schedule. Has worked for them too. So I guess like if you're like inclined to be pretty all over the show, maybe give it a go. It might work for you, and it might totally destroy your business too. So who knows?
And you find much of a difference when you had your daughter, just readjusting your life? Because, obviously a lot of people that do beats and songs,
Yeah.
end up having kids. So do you have any words of wisdom on that side of, just some good hacks that you found?
Literally my career like really took off when I had her because I understood what like I had something to like grind for, like she gave me inspiration. I couldn't just cook up whenever as well, like I just didn't have the time now. And so when I do have the time to work and focus on it, I make sure I really make the most of it. And so it's made me very efficient now, as opposed to before I was kind of a bit more lazy. I kind of took my time with everything. And now that my time is limited, I'm a lot more efficient. And so, like when I wake up at 5 a.m., I know I only got like an hour and a half to 2 hours before she's up, and I can't actually do stuff like I used to. And so I'll figure out ways to streamline my workflow, to streamline how I can send out to 100 people. And so I find I'm always like doing that now, figuring out ways to make things easier on myself and to expand my network. And so kind of bringing back to what I was saying before, the easiest way for me to get records now is for people to come to me and for me to do minimal work on the side of like messaging. If I can save an hour of like messaging people on Instagram and stuff like that, that's amazing. That I can have them come to me and just like go on the Discord, go to the emails I've already sent them, go on my Instagram, the link in bio, and download the packs without me actually even having to do anything. Like that's been very valuable for me. So yeah, definitely like it's up to my work ethic, but also my workflow and efficiency. Yeah.
Cool. What about you, Flynn? What do you do on your structuring and organizing? How free flow versus, organized?
Yeah, I would say I'm quite the opposite of Liam at at this point because I'm balancing school as well as music, and that was a big thing as well. I've gone into uni now, but all through my early music career, it was balancing it with 20, 30 hours a week of high school. So you just have to find everyone's different. Everyone can have time slots in the day where they can work hard, like Liam, and otherwise it can be like a bit all over the place. And yeah, I feel like creatives are definitely very sporadic with how things come because you never know when an idea comes. You might be driving somewhere, or you might be on a walk or something, and then you get something come in your head and you're thinking, shit, I need to get this done now. And it could be in the voice memos and you never touch it again, or you could be sitting at your desk and it just comes out straight away. But that's how creatives work. Just ideas come out of nowhere. And yeah, if you can structure it in a way where I will do 4 hours now and I'll make this as productive as possible, it's great. But it's also like, it's difficult to find that time and to fit into that time schedule as a creative sometimes. But it does work for some people very easily.
Cool. When you're on a roll, just really focusing on it. How many beats do you guys try and make a week or a day? In an ideal circumstance, do you have anything like that? I know talking to Next Wave, he was doing like 4 or 5 a day. Often when
if you're using loops, like if I use loops, I can honestly probably make like 20 a day, like just because they all sound the same, and the loops all sound different. So like a lot of the time how I structure it is like I'll do like a couple of weeks where I'm making like a lot of loops where I'm like super creative. And then the other weeks I'm not so creative, I find it easier to do drums. And so something that's also helped me is like I've got like templates up for different like beats. And so if I get like a manager ask me for a pack of like Juice WRLD type beats or like Shoreline Mafia type beats or whatever, I'll have like a drum template up already, and I'll just like put loops in that drum template that I've made like weeks prior, and just keep swapping them out and like just like change up a couple of snares, the tempo, the key and stuff like that, and I'll send it out, and they all sound like completely different beats, but it definitely makes it a lot easier, and that's kind of how you can get those like bigger packs together, or if you need something come out ASAP.
Is that one shots or patterns or both?
I don't have like loop templates, so all my loops that I make are like super, like when I'm like super in the zone and creative. But for the drums, yeah, I'll have like drum MIDI that I've done, so like have like hi-hat, snares and stuff like that, and I'll just like drag and drop, when I'm not feeling that creative, or I have to like smash out a pack in 2 hours, I'll do that, and I'll just like swap out one shots and snares, 808s and whatever. And they all come out sounding like completely different, but that template is a really good place to start, because I'm not having to like drag in individual stuff and start a new project every time. I'm just kind of like swapping out and in and out. So that's helped me like fill up a lot of packs last minute that I've needed to do.
Cool.
I had a question to follow up. Oh, sorry, you go, Ray.
Just a tiny little tidbit, but I've found that when I'm working in sessions with artists, just having quick things like being able to import the full drums from another song that was similar can really speed up the process when you've got an artist that wants to record something right now and wants to have the track like done super quick. Then I'll be like, oh yeah, sweet, I got some other Afro house drums that sound like this. I'll just import all of that, and yeah, speed things up a lot. Who did I get that from? Joel did that well when I was doing the session with him, and I've started doing that quite a lot as well.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea, honestly. I think it's kind of like the same thing I was saying, really. It does help.
Yeah, so much.
I had a question for you, Liam, on that. You talked about weeks where you focus on loops when you're more creative, and then weeks where you focus on drums and can do like up to 20 a day. When you're sending out loops and beats to your network, do you find that loops often lead to placements more easily because it's a producer that's receiving it, as opposed to like if you're sending a producer like or your network like a full beat? Is that just harder to place because there's less of an incentive on their end to place it?
Yeah, 100%. Like I got my first big record was actually like I made the full beat, so I did like the drums and stuff. And I was like trying to get some more records overseas, and I found like it's just so hard to be. It's not impossible. Like I still obviously like place like my drums as well, but like I found it so hard. It's so much harder to just like send full beats. I couldn't throw the net as wide as I can doing loops, and so I actually just like switched to doing loops, because I was like, man, I could be sending these loops out to like thousands of producers at once, instead of like sending a pack of 10 beats to one manager, I can, send this one loop out to like literally like thousands of producers. And so I found like loops being to be way more lucrative, obviously, for that reason. And then obviously what came from that was like the vocals with India. And so like that really opened up the door, because India would record like one vocal and we send it out to thousands of producers that then make a different loop on the same vocal. So it's kind of like almost like a pyramid scheme, I guess, of like loops. And, like
Just way more scalable, eh?
Yeah. And so like we still do that to this day. I put up, starter loops in my Discord where it'll just be like one stem or like a couple of like really like simple loops, and producers can add to that loop and then send it out themselves. And so I found that really helpful too. And so like I'm not only sending it out to my network, but I'm collaborating with other producers who then send it out to their network as well. And so that's been really valuable. Yeah.
Cool. When you're doing loops that are going out to other producers and they're incorporating it into a track they're doing with an artist, what's the general range that you're getting as a split, say, on the publishing for that side of things?
Anywhere from, if like one person does the loop and another person does the drums, anywhere from 25% to like 5%, honestly.
Cool.
And one thing you have to realize is when you're doing the loops, like you don't have as much leverage when it comes to negotiating the song. So like if I send a loop to a major producer in America who's actually in the studio with their artist and they make the beat and place the record, obviously they're going to get more because like they've done the, like obviously like I've started the song, I've done the sound and stuff like that. But the real play, in my opinion, was like being in the studio, and like placing that record. And so a lot of the time you'll find that the loop guy, the guy that made the sample, doesn't have the negotiating power, the same negotiating power as the person that's actually in the room, that's like friends with the artist manager. So I've kind of learned the hard way. Like a couple of my earlier songs, I think I negotiated too hard and actually like lost the connection because I asked for too much. And so what I do now is I really kind of like take what I'm given, because I'd rather get like a couple of records than just get like one record and 25% pub. I'd rather get like more records and less pub, and like keep the relationship and keep my name good.
Adding to what Liam said there, yeah, with those contracts, especially with some bigger songs, and if the producer has a lot of credibility to their name, their managers actually put that in the contract, like, you are using our producer here, like we expect a big sum. So if it's a big pop producer, especially in the pop scene, they can scale advances up like almost 6-figure advances, like 5-6-figure advances. And as the loop guy, you got to kind of just be like, yeah, you can do that. I will take my part. I'm not going to negotiate too hard, because you want to keep that connection. Because if you just let things be and the business side of things is really easy, then they'll want to come back and keep using more loops. And yeah, as Liam said, you get more songs out of that. And that's going to be more lucrative at the end of the day than trying to get that extra little bit of cash at the time.
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely like a mistake not to make when you first like get your first big song with a big producer or a big connection. Like obviously like know your worth, but know that you're probably not worth as much as you think if you've just done the sample.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever had someone want to remove your tag, and have you let that slide?
I get my tag removed all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, just like I did a record last year. I'm not gonna say, but like I actually like solo produced the whole song. Anyway, it came to like releasing the song, and there's like 7 other producers attached to the song now, and I'm like, it is what it is. If you're like kind of working from overseas, yeah, like it's kind of crazy, really. Like, but I still because I've learned my lesson in the past, you know, those 7 other producers are actually like 7 really big producers. And so I was like, you know what, like I'm just gonna let this one go. And now I'm connected with all those other producers and I send them work all the time. So I thought, you know, I'm better off getting all these new connections than, you know, trying to be like, I just produced the beat, it's just me on the beat, like you guys didn't do anything. So
Cool. Yeah. I've got a question here from Ralph. Whoever wants to answer it can. Any tips on overcoming being burnt out on producing, and best tips on managing life admin with creativity? I mean, Liam's already talked a bit about it, but the burnout thing, I suppose, when you creatively burn out, who wants to talk about how you deal with
I
that?
think yeah, that's something that has happened to me throughout all of my music making. Like I will go hard for a week, 2 weeks, and then whatever happens, you just hit a block and you're like, shit, I do not want to make another loop or beat like this. And I think what helps is honestly, it's obviously different if it's the reliable income, and if music making is what your main income source is, then it's another story. But if it's still on the verge of being passion and a side hustle, then honestly, just taking a step back, like just letting all the other elements in your life have a bigger light than music, and like going outside, fitness, socializing, just let it sit for a bit. Listening to different kinds of music as well. Like if you're just stuck in a constant cycle of listening to American rap, like go back to some old music, maybe go back to like old pop in the UK or whatever, and just switch it up and get as many different inspirations as you can from other places. And then when you feel like it, that spark is going to come back to you. You don't know when, like you might just feel like making music again. And like when that happens, then you're going to get back in the zone and you can be as creative as you want to be.
Who else wants to
Yeah.
talk to that?
I agree with Flynn there. With especially with lifestyle changes. I used to just down like 2 or 3 energy drinks a night and then just stay up to like 5, 6 a.m. making music, and then I got burnt out really hard from that. And then once I started getting into like nutrition and going to gym, all that sort of stuff just kind of flowed naturally. So now I can like in one sitting I could make like 3, 4 beats quite easily. Yeah, just making sure that you have your mental health right, having your physical health right as well, really can change things. Um, Personally, I also like have this sort of lockbox thing for my phone because I used to be really addicted to my phone. This will lock my phone for like 2 hours, and then I'll just purely focus on whatever I'm making. Because I know so many people who are in a session, especially if you're working with a lot of artists, they'll record a verse and they just end up going on reels for 2 hours. And then you're like, oh, like I'm mixing your stuff. Come on, hop on, do the second verse, but they're just scrolling and scrolling instead of actually doing work. And you realize you can actually save so much time when you're not looking at bullshit on your phone. That's when I discovered when I bought this. I discovered like, oh, I actually have a lot of time for music. Even with 9 to 5 and going gym and like walking dogs, etc. as well. So yeah, there are plenty of ways to actually get your mind right. You kind of just have to really reflect on yourself at one point and then just see like what you're doing wrong and what you're doing right. And then especially journaling as well. I think that helped me a lot as well, so I can actually set my tasks throughout the day and understand what I have planned for the day. Um, and then everything just kind of naturally flows as well. And on top of that, what Flynn said too, we're like listening to different music, um, going out even talking to people about different music as well. That helps dramatically.
Yeah.
Someone told me that you need to inhale before you exhale. I can't remember who said that, but like what I've noticed with Nine Lives, whose like output is crazy, is he will always take time for himself to go to an art gallery or go watch. He watches a lot of movies, which obviously movies have a lot of like interesting what's the word, scores to them, where there's like lots of old music and buzzy weird stuff happening. He's like always inhaling and ingesting really super diverse culture and art, and then I think it's also about being sympathetic to yourself and acknowledging, because a lot of producers, let's be honest, have ADD or ADHD. And like when the inspiration is there, lean into it, go crazy, make like 10 beats. But if it's not there, maybe that's an inhaling week, or that's like kind of like what you were saying, Liam. So I really like that way of looking at it, inhaling and exhaling.
Yeah. I mean, like Michael said about going to the gym, there's some good science on doing exercise. Even if you run out of ideas, just go move around a bit and it improves creativity. So yeah, you can always look into, you know, some of the science that they're actually working on to improve creativity. So that can always be a little good biohack you can do. So, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Ray? You have any tips for getting your inspiration when you're out of ideas and stuff?
And rock climbing, eh? Rock climbing is good for the neural
Yep.
pathways.
Yep.
We had a phase at the studio of rock climbing in between sessions, but then the rock climbing wall got full of heaps of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I just come to learn that you just got to accept that inspiration comes in waves, and once you accept that, you stop getting angry at yourself if you're not feeling inspired and you're not feeling like doing music. And I've also just come to accept that sometimes you need just a whole week on admin and a whole week of not getting much music done. That's just how it goes sometimes. And yeah, like in a release week or something like that, and you just got heaps of emails, spreadsheets, whatever to do. You just got to get that mahi done and accept that you'll get the music time later. And yeah, when the ideas come, record them on voice memos, write them down in your notes, whatever, so that when you do get that music time, you're just going to be like brimming to go and just have a bunch of ideas that you can just smash out when you do find that creative time again.
Nice one. Cool. We sort of hit our time limit thing, because especially Liam's got to go to bed, Liam? Be up at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
That's right.
I've been up since 5 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
And I went to the gym, you know, fitness.
Yep. Cool.
Good man.
And with no breakfast?
I just had to flex the fitness. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Real cringe.
Nah, let's fitness fix.
But I went to the gym.
Fitspo.
Just so everyone knows.
Nice. So it's time to draw a prize. Said we've got 2 of the United plugins Firemaster to give away. One from someone who registered and one from someone tonight. And the winner for that is Ollie. Well done, Ollie. You are the winner. Thanks for your questions and all that. So just get in contact with us and we will send you your license. So, oh, look, Ash is making a party for it. And yeah, next week's one, 7:30 till 9, is on drum production. So got a bunch of people there. Greg Haver, Brandon Haru, Dave Rhodes, and Neil Baldock on that. And Shaw have given us away one of these fancy headphone things worth about $500. And we're giving away Melda plugins, drum thingy plugin. I can't remember the name, sorry. And another Rode swag pack. So join in and win free stuff. And yeah, if you've got any other questions, just get in contact with the MPG people, because we're here to be helpful. So thanks, everyone. Ka kite.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening, lads.
Got keep there. Nice to hang with everyone.
Thanks. That was fun.
Thanks for hosting, Teddy.
Chirp. See ya.
Peace.
See you later.
Bye.